Hello, everyone. This is Jim Okrasinski with your week two lecture video. So, this week in the discussion boards, we are focusing on our reading, which is Love Letters, that literacy narrative written by Megan Foss, the tale of Mickey transforming, I should say, into Megan. So, everybody seemed to have grasped the section one, which is kind of straightforward when we talk about the literacy narrative and love letters, about the purpose of writing. It kind of ties directly with the overview and the objectives here about those dialectal thinking that we have in our head. When we think, we write, we tell stories, whatever it may be. These are the habits of the mind that I mention here, right? Because reading and writing is a recursive process, develops habits of the mind, right? Whether it's a text, a visual image, reading with a purpose serves intellectual inquiry. So, really, much successful writing also comes from good reading and having something to say, right? So, that being said, you saw that in section one where Mickey, you know, wrote about her experiences. We get into debate back and forth whether mailing or not mailing or buying stamps and envelopes was a part of all of this, but it is a significant factor when it comes to really determining how she wrote and what her purpose was. So the idea here is I want to talk a little bit about purpose in writing because that's kind of like what we're talking about this whole course really is about purpose and writing and audience. So when we talk about purpose, the purpose in writing is the reason or goal that you have for your writing about the topic. Whatever it could be. It could be an academic assignment. It could be a discussion board post. It could be a lab report. It could be any particular of academic writing that you have been assigned or want to accomplish. Could be a letter, could be a business report, could be a sales letter when you move on outside of academia. So it's important to understand what is it that your piece of writing that you either want to write or you've been tasked to write, what is the goal of that? What are you looking to achieve? Then, on the other hand, next you have to consider audience. Who are you writing this particular uh, assignment, letter, email, whatever it may be? Who is the audience? You have to look at the audience and determine exactly how much they know, how much they don't know. If it's a general audience, then you just cannot assume that they are familiar with what it is you're writing. So in that way, you might have to be more detailed in your writing. You would have to take the time to explain um, aspects of that particular piece to the audience because you cannot assume that they understand what it is you're talking about. All right, so if it's a general audience, a specific audience, it's an email to your boss as opposed to an email to a group of people, your audience shifts. And I think it's critical for everyone to understand how purpose and audience work, right? So here is a simple diagram here for purpose. You're looking to either persuade or you're looking to socialize, which we do a lot today. To instruct, you're writing instructions, to explain, to recount, to inquire, to entertain, to inform. Right? Whatever the purpose may be, it is critical to understand what you're trying to accomplish before you go about writing a piece. Not to mention the fact that audience is critical, right? So if you're talking about your first essay assignment, where I say it's a general audience, you have to understand that you might have to write in much more detail, right? The tone can be informal, all right? That's another aspect of purpose. Is it a formal or informal, right? Some people you don't know personally, or they might even be a remote audience, um, might actually worth your time to sit down and look at the goals and the purpose and who your audience is. So when we talk about the rhetorical situation, this is a little diagram here where the writer determines purpose, the audience, what is the message, and oftentimes all of this, like the purpose, audience, and message, really is within a context or a culture. If you're answering an email, if you're writing an essay, something within that topic All right, provides the context and also a cultural aspect about it. You know what, a communication in one culture might not mean the same as another culture. Also, we shift eras from generations to generation, so it's all important to understand the rhetorical situation when you are writing. As you move through academia and you get experience in academic and business writing, you'll understand exactly how to shift this, right? So the question is then is you're looking at why Mickey wrote in the first section. You know, everybody is basically kind of talked about the same thing in the discussion boards, that she was writing because it was a way to have Daryl be there with her, and she didn't mail him because then that would, signify that he is not there anymore and he's actually in jail, right? So what does it say about writing? Any writing. Sometimes it also says something about excuses when you don't choose to um, do certain things, right? We all make decisions and they all have outcomes. So in section two, Mickey discovers a different purpose in writing and how to use language to get herself out of jail. And I think it's really important. There are some great passages in the section two and in section three where Mickey talks about purpose, right? How she needs to accomplish a goal, all right? Get herself out of jail, all right? So Mickey writes out how she discovers language in achieving her goal of a reduced sentencing. How important is language? How is important to words? Okay, it's kind of straightforward in the text in sections 2 and 3, where she signals exactly in the passages the idea of purpose, her purpose in writing, and language. Critical. How is it the way we speak, the language that we use, how we write, actually helps us get things done in the world. So, just to give you a bit of an example here, let me see if I can get to the textbook here. So, I have a copy, my copy of Love Letters, the PDF, right? And I'm in section 2, and I've got some sections and some text highlighted here where Mickey talks about writing was one of the only a few officially sanctioned ways to pass the time. And Daryl was the only person she knew that had a place that could collect mail. So I wrote letters to him. All right. So she talks about the purpose there. That was a way to pass time. Right. I also wrote to establish a future. Right. I wrote to try to document the boundary line and my position relative to it. Right. So she was writing to discover, she was writing to figure out her future. And then the most important one that I'll pass along right now is when she took the English classes. So you really want to look through this section here about purpose in writing, because writing takes on a new dimension that most people don't think about it here. In many ways, writing she talks about in this section and section 2, all right, about her writing. Now, writing takes on different. She's writing her stories, but all of a sudden now there's an English teacher that's going to review it. So somebody is reading her writing, somebody is judging her writing, and we all write to be read, number one. But number two, more importantly, it's carrying a value, because if it's good enough, then she gets time off. It's just like when you write an essay or an assignment or a book report, right? You do it for points. Points are a grade. A grade accumulates and leads into a successful outcome, right? So the idea is writing has value and it has a commodity now for her, right? So she talks about writing, and she specifically talks about the idea of purpose, right? So if we kind of scroll through, look for those words that you might want to think, right? Here, for example, is a text that might really demonstrate the idea of purpose. The journals probably would have served my purpose, but somewhere between thinking that I might be able to get time off my sentence in exchange for my scribbling and sitting at my desk trying to decide what to show her, my purpose changed a tiny bit. And she goes on to talk about this being the first independent study project of her education. So throughout section 2 and into section 3, look for sections in your discussion board posts that might help you not only answer and write the post, but I'm looking for textual evidence on purpose and audience and how the audience shifts. critical in section 2 when she talks about her transformation into a mainstream identity. How does she make that shift from her life on the streets? All right. So these are important considerations as you were to look through. Let me see if I can get back to where I want to go. Remember, you can use the reading guide here to help guide you in the discussion boards and start thinking about purpose and audience and how it'll work through the discussion boards. Number 3, I believe it is, for section 2 and 3. So those are my thoughts about purpose and audience, and as we're moving forward, if you have any questions about the discussion board posts or where we're going, please send me an email. Good luck. Stay safe.